Hi, Bob Nagy here, AB5N, with a little bit of a KX3 review and overview. Now, potential buyers are going to want to know what's the feature set in a radio like this, and what's great about this radio, and what could be improved. Now, the KX3 is a fairly radical concept. It's a highly integrated HF to 2-meter multi-mode radio. The 2-meter module is not quite available yet, but it's got a space for it in there. Everything you need is in the box. They're trying to integrate everything in there so you can throw it in a backpack, put up a wire over a tree, and you're making QSOs in all different modes. That means it has 8 internal AA cells. Nickel metal hydrides are what's in mine right now, and an internal battery charger. It's got side-mounted paddles over here. And right now I was in PSK 31 and transmitting using the paddles. Pretty cool, huh? It's got an internal wide-ranging automatic antenna tuner. Really works great. An internal speaker. I'm using an external one now, but the internal is perfectly fine for quieter environments. And it's got a stock heavy-duty metal tuning dial. It's not plastic like you might imagine. It's beefy and it feels good. Dual VFOs, 100 memories, built-in PSK31 and RTTY and CW decoding and encoding. I don't need a computer for those modes. And it has continuously adjustable bandwidth, which you would expect. There's the upper end and there's the lower end, or actually frequency center. We're in PSK31 right now. It's got a coarse electronic CW keyer. What you're seeing right now, we're seeing PSK being decoded from Field A, where we were there for a second. Field A still active out on the West Coast. It's got voice and CW memories. That's really handy. And it's got dual receive preamps, a 10 and a 20 dB that you can run either or both of them. It's got a great noise blanker right over here. It's got auto notching. It's got a CW auto tuner, which is pretty slick. It's got a meter and shows you right when you're tuned in. Plus, it'll visually show you that as you're tuning, or you can press a button and it tunes it to your frequency. Let's there we go. There we go. Tuning in a PSK31 signal, and as you can see, it's scrolling across the screen there. As I turn down the volume, you'll see the volume knob show its level. There we go. I'm going to turn it down real low. Looks like a XE1 station there. Of course, it's got your RIT, your XIT, your Vox, the audio speech compressor that really sounds good. It has an automatic peaking filter on CW, which really narrows down. It's sort of an audio peaking filter and pulls out those really super low signals. It's got DSP noise reduction over here. It hasn't been implemented yet, but we're really early on in the development of this thing here and release of it, so they're going to be doing a few of these features in firmware over the next coming weeks, I guess. It's got extended sideband capability, so you can widen out your sideband signal and go on 14.178 and talk to those guys. And tons of display information and menuing systems. Man, it'll show you everything here. I can hit a display button showing my battery voltage, go through all kinds. There's the current draw. Look at that, 0.206, 206 mA with the lights on and everything on receive. Temperature of the PA, all kind of stuff. Really cool. Or you can just use this one for a tuning knob on the main VFO too. Sort of a fine-tuning, coarse tuning kind of arrangement. The radio also interfaces easily with your PC for full spectral display, spectrum analyzer kind of display. There's several free programs available, and remote controlling with Ham Radio Deluxe or logging programs, this kind of thing. It's got a USB cable comes with it, and the sides of the radio have all of the I/O. The power is about up to 12 watts maximum, and that's with up to 15 volts on the power supply. You can run up to 15 volts on this thing, and it'll run it down to around 8 volts. And it's sort of, you know, the power output will vary according to your voltage and other conditions. It's really smart about that. You'll see your power being maximized for whatever voltage you're running, or the heat temperature of the finals, that kind of thing. It's loaded with modern features. it is absolutely loaded. And it's an SDR in a box with knobs. That means it's a software-defined radio. That means that firmware updates can add almost any feature desired to this radio. Every week or so they're coming out with another revision and new features are being implemented. Plus there's a feedback path for you. That means I've already put up, I'd like this and that, this little feature or that little feature. You know, custom little things you'd like to be able to do this or that. And they're very responsive about adding these kind of features and talking to you about them. And for those of you who are not really familiar with it, an SDR is not a radio with digital signal processing, and it's a computer that becomes a radio. It is the radio, and you know that could put a lot of you guys off. Say, hey, you know, I mean, it's like we know that stuff that runs on certain operating systems is not stable, and there's crashes and all this stuff. This radio is not like that. It shouldn't put you off that it's an SDR because it gives you fantastic receiver performance and transmit quality and ultimate flexibility and upgradability. You could really add any feature imaginable to this thing pretty much. So, you know, let's talk about operation. I'm going to show you how you turn it on over here with these two little buttons. Why are there two buttons to turn this thing on? Well, you're probably going to put this in a little backpack or a little case, and you know you don't want it to accidentally turn on your way out to the camping spot. So you press both of these buttons, boots up, and it's sort of cool. You can put in your own message there, and you know, put in your calls and that kind of thing to scroll across when you first turn it on. Every button on this thing has 2 to 3 functions. That means you press it once and release, or you press and hold it. Or you're going to be putting a frequency in, direct input of frequency. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The decimal point there on the 0, and you can directly input the frequency. So those buttons have a triple function. So we fire it up, and the custom message scrolls across. And then I'm going to go over the controls as I would just sort of operate the radio. Band up and down is here. Pretty easy. You can hear the relays click as the antenna tuner goes back to its position that it remembers. You got your dual VFOs over here so you can hit A, B, and what I do is use one for the low part of the band and one for the high part of the band. Also, you can go ahead and recall up to 4 instant memories for each band. You hold down the recall, and 1 through 4 are 4 I did positions across the band, you know, just moving across the band, so I can instantly jump to a part of the band real easy. Your mode switch is over here. You just go through all the modes. You actually turn off AM and FM if you don't use either of those much. Pretty straightforward. Everybody's used to that. You got your volume control. Press it once. You got your RF gain control. What's really nice is you can turn your AGC off and just leave this in the RF gain control position and get some really killer sounding receive SSB coming in there. It's really sort of nice if you've got consistent signals or not QSBing up and down. Let's turn around on sideband just to give you an idea what it sounds like.
India, Florida, kilowatt.
A little bit of field day activity still happening here.
IFK 1 Echo Georgia. Okay.
Here's the effect where I turn the AGC off. I have that on a custom function thing. I turned it off. Press the volume control and just use the AF or the RF gain to sort of be your volume control. And it effectively lowers your background noise and gives you a really clean SSB. When you don't have a lot of QSB, you can use that technique.
Thank you very much. November 4, Papa November.
I'll turn the AGC back on.
November 4, Papa November.
Bring the RF gain back up.
November 4.
Audio down. We'll go down the band.
A0OI. Order. He sent it back with...
Here's our bandwidth.
Monkey Man and Mr. Burns saying excellent. Yeah, that's Garrett.
The band is sort of quiet when most of field day has ended. I think everybody's tired.
Tango Queen Charlie. Thanks for a new band.
Very nice control. And of course we have the optional roofing filters installed in here. And as I tune it down, it selects to more narrow roofing filters automatically. You can see the selection change there.
It's Whiskey 2, Japan. United Quebec. Whiskey 2, Japan, United Quebec.
When we A/B this with other commonly used radios, the receive quality was really clean sounding compared to the other radios. We were in a noisy field day environment, and just going to this radio, all of a sudden I could hear people above the background air conditioning and din of the field day site. It just was cleaner sounding. Yep, band sort of quieter. Same guy. So like I said, you hit the rate button, it goes to 100 hertz. You can move across the band really quick. Then hit it once more, back out to 10 hertz control. Spanish stations. Yeah, signals are down a little bit today on 20. Nobody really powerful. So there's basically what it sounds on like on sideband. I want to sort of give you an idea. It's got your dual preamps over here. Actually, I'll show you what I've done. Here's the preamp switch down here. And I can be using either the 10 dB or the 20 dB preamp or both of them. So what I did was, I might want to change those. So I put those in one of my custom buttons over here. The RIT and XIT function as two custom buttons. And if I hold this down, I've got it set to the menu setting for preamp, and I can just scroll and pick which ones I want here, like that. Quickly adjust that, so the button then does 10 or 20 dB. Different bands, different preamplification necessary. Your tuning rate is right over here, and as you press the button, it goes all the way down to 1 hertz. Boy, you can fine tune in those PSK signals. Or, there we go, 10 hertz. Or if you hold it in, 100 hertz. Jump across the band really quick. Pretty good, huh? The data decode is over here. Once you press it, let's go down to 20. We're already in data decode. When you press data over here, you select between your RIDI or your PSK, and there's some expansion slots in there. Maybe they're going to implement some other digital modes, and your CW decode, which is sort of keen. And they've been improving the CW decode for higher speeds and lower signals, and you can adjust the CW decode for how strong the signal is. We're back in PSK here. I'm just going to go for the center over there. Of course, the guy stops transmitting whenever you're trying to do a demo. You know how that goes. The receive performance of this thing is outstanding. This was field day weekend. I worked a whole long page of stations, and there's a guy called CQ Field Day, probably out on the West Coast. It was K5. And I didn't hear any crunchy splatter garbage on tightly packed stations all the way across the band. And there really is no more difficult test of a receiver than field day. I mean, man, it was murder out there on 20 coming across the band. So there you go. Look at that. You can see the text coming and scrolling across. CW works the same. Overall, wow, I give this radio extremely high praises. The worst thing about it was having to wait for it because there was such a backlog of orders. Whoa. Oh. What I did there was to immediately dump the cable in 1 second. You do an IM with no space, and it kills the PSK carrier. Oh, sorry to have dumped on that guy a little bit. But I could only think of a few little things that I would like tweaked up in the firmware, and luckily you just go to the forum and tell people what you like, and Wayne and Eric will usually respond to you, and other people will tell you, oh, you can do that by simply pressing this or that button. You weren't aware that you could do things you didn't know you could do. PSK, you've got to really tune that baby in, and also you narrow down the bandwidth to it's just wide enough and eliminate the other stations. So let's see what else. Other than that, I've tried RTTY. What is sort of keen is when you I'll go off frequency here. When you do key up using the paddles in PSK31. Oh, I'm on the station, I think. Okay. You can hear the CW, like I said, but you also hear the RIDI or the PSK31 going out, and that is really keen. So I've got to give it an A+. Like I said, minor tweaks to the firmware here and there, and that's happening continuously with Elecraft. So what a great bunch of guys out there giving us super cutting-edge technology. So watch for my other videos, because I'm going to show you power amps that I like, and maybe if I find some hot rods on this thing, we'll tell you all about it. AB5N, Bob Nagy. Enjoy.